It's a rain-soaked day in the Western Cape, and of course I'm driving the brand new 5.0 Ford Mustang. Now, if the internet is to be believed, I should be crashing into those trees right about there. But what is the new Mustang really like? Well, let's find out. So, finally behind the wheel of the, some would say, 2025 Mustang GT. It's kind of cooler sounding, isn't it, when you say 2025? It is, in the true sense of the letters, a GT, a Grand Tourer, which means that this car here is way more suited to a long-distance vaunt like the one I'm on right now. The seating position is very comfortable. The seats are exceptionally supportive and comfortable. And remember, they are cooled and heated. I just want to see if I can find that. Yeah, so that brings me to my first little gripe, and that's because they've taken most of the buttons away. And now you've got to deal with these two giant screens that house most of the things that you need. Having said that, the interface has been quite controversial because older gen Mustangs didn't have any of this. It's got the same 10-speed box as the previous gen. The wheelbase is almost identical. It's a little bit higher because you've got more space for your crash helmet, and that's what Ford told us. And then the engine is the next generation Coyote V8, which has a little bit more torque, but less power than the old version. So the big question is, why would you get this Mustang over the old one that's cheaper and so similar? You see, this car has got the old nip and tuck in almost all four of its corners. Everything is just 2 to 5% tighter, better, lighter, faster. Yeah, I know the car's a little bit heavier than the old one too, but it does feel like there's been a lot of improvements in many, many small areas. And when you notice that most is when you do this. Push the mode button over here and stick it into sport mode, put the exhaust on its loudest setting, into manual mode, drop one of those 10 gears, maybe 5, and then do that all the way to the incredibly high RPM limit, and that Coyote just sings. Oh, wow. Oh, it is a fun car. It is a fun car. Woo. So let's first look at the aesthetics of the Mustang, because this is what most people will see. The front grille section over here is much the same size, but it looks different because of the new bottom section over there. Of course, you've got the big Mustang badge in the front, and then the brow. Kind of makes it look angry, especially from the sloped angle over here. I really like how this bonnet is extended compared to the older model. On the bonnet here, you've got a functional hood vent that's supposed to let the hot air out, and you can feel the heat haze coming off the top. The Mustang is now full LED, and I do like the shape of those lights. On the side here, you've got these 19-inch wheels, the 255s in the front, 275 at the back, and those are the optional 19-inch wheels. There aren't that many options on the Mustang, but this does look like a good one. At the back is where there is a real difference. You've got the GT badge letting everybody know what is up exactly. This is a Mustang GT, folks. And then you've got a functional diffuser at the bottom with quad exhausts that are very, very real. So here is where most of the new magic takes place. You've got these two ginormous screens. The interior of this car is so much more modern than the older one. Interestingly, this gear lever is exactly the same as the old model, but it's attached to that 10-speed gearbox, which is just straight up wonderful, to be honest. And in this car, it really does match up perfectly. And then there's this. It is an electronic handbrake, but it's shaped like a normal handbrake. So for those of us that want to be hooligans and test out all the hooligan features on here, you've got that. With my seat in the correct position, there's not much room at the back, but even the old Mustangs weren't known for their rear legroom. The startup sequence and the mode change on the screen here is very special. It uses Unreal Engine. For those gamers out there, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's a graphics system that's integrated into the cockpit, and it just looks fantastic with the latest in definition and graphics. Now, let's check what's under the bonnet. Whoo, would you look at that? 328 kilowatts, 540 newtons from this Coyote Gen 4 5.0 V8. Wouldn't that sound sweet at the bar? But speaking of sweet, all that sweet, cool air is getting sucked in here through two throttle bodies, which is one of the big changes from the older Gen. And the new Mustang also features additional cooling, a strut brace over here, and a host of monitoring tools to let you know in the cockpit what's happening under the bonnet exactly. The Mustang also has two features that I have to show you. It's got remote start. There we go. Yes. And then we can also do this. Woo. And this. Nice, nice. At 1.3 million rand, including VAT and that warranty service plan, etc., the Mustang, although expensive, is still a relative bargain compared to competitors like the GR Supra, whose price has gone up, and the M440 and BMW M4, which is now stupendously expensive. You get access to some of those thrills at a slightly more affordable number. It's still flawed, but it's still a very, very good car to drive even on a wet, slippery road, and it's still the ultimate hooligan car.
Welcome back to Ignition GT. Square-jawed, muscular, with a roaring V8 under the bonnet, the Ford Mustang is as American as they come, but it's also proved a massive sales hit with South African motorists. Will the new one continue that successful legacy? Well, let's find out from our guests.
This car has done really well for Ford. There's always been an appetite for V8 muscle. You used to have the Chevrolet Lumina in the day, Ford Falcon and those kind of cars. They've sold, I think, over 4,000 units of this, the previous generation Mustang, and I think this one will be set to continue that popularity. People love V8s. It's the last of a breed, really. Yeah. It's the last of a kind, and they've just really refined the recipe without diluting it.
Yeah, and I actually also wanted to find, I mean, Dennis, just thinking of the V8 Mustang was one of my favorites growing up. I had it on my wall. Did you share the same sentiments? And I think just going into that Mustang as the car that people love, do you share that sentiment as well? Has it kind of lived up to the glorious sort of car that we all know and love?
It certainly does what it says on the box, put it that way. I mean, we are not getting the watered down 2.3 litre turbo version. Yeah. We are getting the full fat 5 litre V8, normally aspirated with a great sound, and that's what it delivers. It's got that muscle and it's got the look and it's got that visceral feel. I mean, it's not a driving that you can put into the background and concentrate on what's playing on the radio. You're always very involved in the experience.
Yes. And just, talking about, where this car is in terms of some of its competitors, let's talk about pricing as well.
It has grown up somewhat,
Yeah.
It's a lot, I don't want to say more civilized, but they've smoothed out some of the edges. That said, though, it still feels very much like a heavy sledgehammer.
Yeah.
You're doing decent speeds on the open road, and you can see the hood, sort of, which doesn't happen. Which doesn't happen in a German car. But just love these endearing traits about the Mustang. It's what makes it a Mustang, and of course, that sound is just fantastic.
It's just sonorous.
I think for 1.3 million rand, you're getting quite a lot of car. It's besides that whole look and feel of the thing, which can you really put a price on that? It's got most of the gizmos. It's got the lane keeping assistant, blah blah blah. The things that people don't really want in a car, but manufacturers tell you you're getting it in your car.
Yeah.
But I think for the price, you're getting quite a lot of car.
Oh, okay. Well, I can't wait to get behind the wheel, which will be happening quite soon.